The year 1991 witnessed one of the most significant geopolitical events of the 20th century, the dissolution of the Soviet Union. After over 7 decades of communist rule, the once mighty empire crumbled, marking the end of the Cold War and reshaping the global political landscape. For many, it was an unimaginable event, a seismic shift that heralded a new era. The Soviet Union, officially known as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR, had its roots in the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Led by Vladimir Lenin, the Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsarist autocracy and established a socialist state based on Marxist-Leninist ideology. Over the decades, the Soviet Union transformed itself into a global superpower, rivaling the United States in military might and ideological influence. The seeds of the Soviet Union's demise were sown long before its eventual collapse. Decades of economic stagnation, ethnic tensions, and a rigid centralized political system had gradually eroded the foundations of the Soviet state. By the 1980s, the Soviet system was in dire need of reform. The ascension of Mikhail Gorbachev to the helm of the Communist Party in 1985 marked a turning point in Soviet history. Gorbachev, a relatively young and reform-minded leader, recognized the urgent need for change. He introduced a series of bold reforms aimed at revitalizing the stagnant Soviet economy and reforming the ossified political system. These reforms, known as perestroika or restructuring and glasnost or openness, would have far-reaching consequences, ultimately leading to the unraveling of the Soviet Empire. Gorbachev's reforms were a radical departure from the rigid policies of his predecessors. Perestroika aimed to introduce elements of market economics into the centrally planned Soviet economy. However, perestroika faced resistance from entrenched bureaucratic interests.
Glasnost aimed to increase openness and transparency in the Soviet system. It encouraged greater freedom of speech, press, and assembly.
Gorbachev's reforms had a profound impact on Soviet society. The newfound freedoms led to a surge in nationalist sentiment, particularly in the Soviet republics. 1991 proved to be a pivotal year for the Soviet Union, as the centrifugal forces unleashed by Gorbachev's reforms gained unstoppable momentum. On March 11, 1991, Lithuania declared its independence from the Soviet Union, becoming the first Soviet republic to do so. Latvia and Estonia followed suit in August of the same year.
The declarations of independence by the Baltic states sent shockwaves throughout the Soviet Union. Other Soviet republics, emboldened by the Baltic example, began to assert their own sovereignty. The Soviet Union, once a monolithic entity, was rapidly unraveling.
In an attempt to salvage the crumbling Union, Gorbachev proposed a new treaty that would have transformed the Soviet Union into a loose confederation of sovereign states. However, the treaty was met with resistance from both hardline communists, who opposed any weakening of central authority, and pro-independence movements, who saw it as too little, too late.
As the Soviet Union teetered on the brink of collapse, a group of hardline communists, fearing the loss of their power and privilege, launched a desperate attempt to seize control of the government.
The coup is an attempt to turn back the clock, but the people will not stand for it. We must defend democracy.
We are here standing together for our freedom and our future. We will not be silenced.
As tensions rise, the streets fill with citizens demanding their rights. The old guard's grip on power is slipping, and a new era is on the horizon.
Today we are witnessing the end of an era. The Soviet Union as we know it is no more. We must move forward with hope and determination.
With these words, the dissolution of the Soviet Union becomes official. A new chapter begins, marking the end of one of the 20th century's most significant political entities.